There were so many fucking studies about this. I feel like we need our own a show just about BDSM, just to talk about
Don't
this.
think we do.
You were going to be as red as a tomato the entire time, but I absolutely feel that way. Hey everyone, I'm Mike.
And I'm Andrew.
And we're the Midlife Guys. All right, Andrew, are you ready? Today we're going to talk about sex.
Sure thing. Let's do it.
So I'm really looking forward to today's discussion because the research is clear. Sexual health is incredibly important, no matter what age you are. But for some reason, talking about sex remains a taboo subject in the United States and elsewhere. And over the past 30 years, there have been tons of doctors and scientists and even influencers on social media that have tried to destigmatize talking about sex. But it's still a pretty taboo subject. So we're here to talk about it. I think religion does play a significant part as to why there is still stigma about talking about sex, but I grew up Episcopalian and we talk about everything. So let's jump in, Andrew. Are you ready to talk about sex?
I'm ready to do it. Let's go. It's something most of us all experience, so we should be able to have a conversation about it. I will just warn any of those watching us on YouTube, I may randomly turn different shades of red. I can't control it. It's just going to happen during the conversation, but just keep pushing through with us.
And I will warn, because there is so much information about this subject, that I have my notes with me. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you are going to see me go through my notes. There's a ton of data out there about this. If you're just listening on your favorite podcast platform, you won't notice. So let's dive in.
Let's go.
So in a 2004 survey of 1,000 millennials, 53% said sex was the most important factor in their relationship. 39% said sharing a similar lifestyle. 28% said similar hobbies. And 24% said similar political views. That's according to a study done by Talker Research and commissioned by Newsweek. Wow! There's a 14 percentage point delta there between sex and sharing a similar lifestyle. Wow. The study goes on to say that one of the biggest factors here is that millennials, especially older millennials, are more open to communication about sex, which may be driving those numbers higher. Another survey or study by the Kinsey Institute shows that Gen X is leading the way in the number of times they have sex a month, followed by millennials. And then the least amount of folks are boomers and Gen X, which is sad at only like 2 to 3 times a month. I know that's a lot to unpack here, Andrew, but what do you think about all of that?
There's a lot to unpack in there. I guess I'll start that I 100% agree with the importance of open and honest communication around sex and intimacy, even if it's not always the easiest thing to talk about. I think it's important. So I think that study definitely makes a lot of sense to me. The first study you had talked about, or survey, also kind of blew my mind about the huge difference between sort of like physical attraction versus shared values. And I'm kind of curious sort of who these people are and kind of like where they are in life, because I feel like what phase of life you're at or like what you want out of life may kind of influence how you respond to that. Like, are you in a relationship or are you just looking for like a casual hookup, or do you want something serious? Like, I just think those are important questions to kind of to think about in terms of what people are really looking for from relationships and the role that sex plays in them. I mean, I'll say for me personally, I think sex is an important part of a relationship, but it's not the most important part. I think about my wife and I have been together for 16 years now and married for 12 years, which makes me feel a little bit old. But they've been good years, but we've been married for those.
Because you are old.
I am old. I know, it's true. But when I think about like my life and our relationship, things like I think shared values, common lifestyle, shared faith foundations are all like really critical to the relationship and probably more important than sex. Sex is definitely an important part of it, and having that level of intimacy, I think, makes the relationship stronger, but it's not like the most important thing. So I'm just kind of it was surprising that so many people said that was the most important thing to them.
It is surprising. Real quickly before we go on, the survey was from 2024. I said 2004.
Oh, I thought you said 2024. Yeah, that would have been
Yeah.
way long ago. I'm like, who are these?
Jesus
Like,
Christ. I don't know where see, that's the problem with having notes.
that's right. Yeah.
So
2024 makes more sense. Yeah.
that's, Jesus Christ. Um, the thing that really drove home for me with these surveys is that a big reason it seems that millennials and midlifers are having more sex is because of open communication. And I think that's really important to a healthy relationship. And I'm glad that our generation is leading the way with having a very honest and open communication. Um, as I mentioned at the top of the podcast, sex remains a very taboo subject across the world. And so I feel that if you are mature enough to have an open conversation about sex, you are mature enough to have an open and honest conversation about anything that's going right or wrong in your relationship. Because I have seen firsthand, especially among older generations, how that lack of an open, honest conversation can lead to the complete breakdown of a marriage or relationship.
Yeah. What I think on the flip side too is kind of interesting. Like I mean, hear and read about all these reports about, and you mentioned it, like Gen Zers are one of the smallest groups. Is like I think like if there's a seems like a generation that maybe doesn't know how to have these conversations or how to kind of have like real world real life experiences. Like if everything's just done through like some sort of online or digital interface, I do think that makes it harder to have these conversations, and your point might to then be open to having, a sexual relationship with somebody. So I think that's definitely important.
Absolutely. Um, there's even more to unpack of these studies, though, Andrew.
Let's
So
keep
get
going.
ready.
All right.
Let's keep going. So I've got to break this up. First, if we go back to the mid 2010s, the National Institutes of Health and several other organizations actually published reports saying that there was a great concern among millennials because we weren't having sex or much sex at all. I'm not sure if these surveys were actually true because, you know, the US government is not particularly good at collecting that type of data. But, it definitely rang some alarm bells. But the thing that changed was COVID. So millennial sexual interactions grew by 800% during the pandemic.
800%.
800%. So we know that the pandemic impacted people in different ways, but clearly one of them was to inspire more sex.
So we need another pandemic for Gen Zers is what my takeaway from that is.
Oh,
No, we do
please
not
don't
need
say
that. No, we don't. But that's wild to me that the pandemic was the tipping point. I mean, I guess at a certain point, there's only so much Netflix and chill you can do, or like you're stuck
Mhm.
inside for so long. Or reminds me of, this is probably a terrible analogy, but like back in the olden days, the like homesteaders and people who like lived on like farms and they had all these kids, I guess, in part to help with the farm, but also it's like, I guess there's nothing else to do at a certain point, right? So that's what you're left with is let's just have a good time and keep having kids. And
It,
so, I
it
mean, maybe
may
that's just people were, yeah.
it may be a coincidence just because my first kid was born in September 2020. So he was conceived like slightly pre-pandemic, but all of his friends are early, like spring, first 2 quarters 2021. So all I'm saying is all the children that I know were all conceived as pandemic boomers, I guess you might call them. I don't know.
Babies,
The
yeah.
pandemic baby
I
boom.
mean,
But so
do
it's
you
funny you say
remember
that.
those early days?
Yeah.
God, there was nothing to
Nothing to
fucking
do.
do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I think that is part of it. I guess that's what you end up doing. Although I'm also, I don't know if you all remember, there were stories, I feel like, or at least talking with friends around the pandemic that like people would get in kind of like couples and like agree to only like see certain people to try not to get sick or get COVID or whatnot. I'm always like fascinated by like, how do you have that conversation or how does that come about? How do people find their like, their COVID, partner and just, I guess, go to town for a
The
while and then find
COVID
someone else.
lovers.
Their COVID lover? Oh, that's better. I like that more. This is my COVID lover.
Or lovers.
Yeah, it's true. Does it? Not just one. Yeah. That still
Yeah.
boggles my mind. Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. Can't help you there. But, yeah, COVID was a global phenomenon. All of a sudden the world stopped. And, we just as human beings have a bad tendency to be selfish and sit there and say, like, oh, COVID happened to me. No, bitch. It happened to all of us. All of us were impacted by COVID. And so every single person in this entire world was going through some sort of issue, some sort of crisis, some sort of need for companionship. So if millennials were impacted by this external force once again, just like the Great Recession and just like 9/11 and everything else that we've gone through, if sex was their escape during the pandemic, then I think that's fine.
If that helped you
good
get
for them.
through, then you know what? Yeah.
Go for it. So another interesting fact was that apparently 75% of those millennials and Gen X and boomers said that they either fantasize about or engage in extramarital relationships or have an open relationship with a blessing of their partner. What do you think about that, Andrew?
75%? That seems high and surprising to me. I feel like this is also 75%. Well, I'm in the minority in this group. I feel like too, this is probably an area we're going to have some disagreements or difference of opinions on. I'm very pro monogamy, and I can kind of talk about that in a minute. But I should caveat it with, I don't want to sound judgmental or prudish here, but I think if you're an adult in a healthy consensual relationship, it's not toxic or abusive, and you want to do this and your partner's on board with it and it works for you all, then you do you. I'm not here to judge you. Good for you. But I don't get it, to be honest. I think monogamy
Sounds like you're judging.
I'm not judging. No, I'm saying it doesn't work for me. If it works for someone else, then maybe it works for them. Although I don't understand, I can't quite wrap my head around the idea of there being multiple people in a relationship. Like, doesn't it get messy at some point, or someone probably has?
Remember, it says fantasizing or engaging.
Or engaging. Okay, I guess it depends on which percentage is fantasizing versus the engaging. The engaging part is the part I'm just like, I don't quite understand. But if that works for you and you're, having open communication about it and everyone's on board, then I guess if that floats your boat, then that's fine. But I do think there are benefits to monogamy. I mean, I think it creates a deeper level of trust and security and understanding. I think too, there's like a deeper connection that you get with someone when it's like you have like my one person who I know is always there for me and I sort of like connect with on what is that face for?
My one person.
No, you know what I mean? Like the person who like you are in this like deep relationship with and like connect with on like both a physical and emotional level more so than you do with like anyone else in the world. I think that helps, in my opinion, to like strengthen that relationship and make it feel more meaningful. I don't know. I think that monogamy makes a lot of sense and kind of leads to stronger relationships, but I have a feeling you have a different opinion, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to piss people off when I say this, but I kind of think it is a good thing. I mean, to your point, if there's open communication and everyone's in a healthy relationship and they're clearly setting expectations, then why not? I mean, I have a somewhat high opinion of humanity in that I think that we can accomplish really good things and problem solve. But at the same time, and we kind of see this play out all the time, I don't think we can hide some animalistic behaviors that we have. So, whether it's fantasizing or actually acting on a relationship in which there are multiple partners, I think that's good as long as they're communicating and are honest about it. It all goes back to communication.
I mean, I think that's true, but we also do. I think we both and lots of people probably know examples of where like one person's not communicating about it, and that's not okay. I want to be clear, like
No, of course
having an
not.
affair
But I mean,
behind someone's back is not all right. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. If as long as there's open communication and everyone's on board, but I just don't believe that with sex it's an either or situation. I think it can be an expression of love or it can be just transactional. I think it can be both. So, yeah, that's that's my 2 cents with that.
There you go. I'm sticking in the love camp over here.
The my one person camp.
Like, you know what I'm
apparently.
trying to say. You have like a very deep connection with one other person. It's like a special because you only share it with that one person.
Okay. All right. So the final topic, this is a wild one. Get ready for this one. Also has to do with communication, according to some additional surveys. And man, these surveys were everywhere.
Where did
It
you
came
find
from the
these
univer-
surveys too? Like so many of
Man.
them.
There are so many of them. Google is great. Google just help you with everything. But
Real
the
quick
University
side
of
tangent.
Indiana.
Sorry, hang on. Before you
what?
get there, can you just ask one question? I have a question for you that I'd like you to answer. So after doing all this research and these surveys, did you get some like wild like Google ads the next time you went on there or were looking at things? Now I thought maybe you.
No, because then I started researching the subject for our next podcast, which was
Okay.
super boring. So,
So Google has balanced you out. It's like, oh, never mind.
Google's like, I don't know what this guy is searching for. But anyway,
Sorry, get to your survey. Yes.
so many surveys from the University of Indiana, the UK Health Department, the Norwegian Health Ministry. There were over 100 different surveys that said 52% of millennials have engaged in some form of BDSM. But Andrew, do you know what the common link in those surveys was?
I honestly have no idea.
So apparently, and as an English major, I think this is pretty funny. Literature does have an impact on people. 50 Shades of Grey was the turning point of the sexual revolution.
Can we call that literature, by the way? Does that qualify? I'm just asking questions.
Just thanks, Tucker.
Wow. Okay. Let's get back on subject. I can't believe I'm pushing for that, but yeah.
So, for those of you who may not know, BDSM stands for bondage and discipline, dominance, submission, sadism, and masochism. A few highlights of these surveys included millennials enjoy from a 30% of millennials enjoy spanking, 22% enjoy dominant or submissive role play, 20% enjoy restraint, and 13% enjoy flogging. So I pose this question to our listeners, knowing full well that some won't feel comfortable in answering, but have you engaged in BDSM to spice things up in the bedroom? Andrew, what thoughts do you have about this topic?
Thanks for throwing that this way. So no is the answer to that question. This is another one where, again, not to be judgmental. If this works for you, that's great. I don't understand it. I really don't. I feel like I probably don't have a ton to contribute here because I feel like, again, I'm in the minority and don't quite get it. But I guess if it works for some folks to spice things up, I do think it's fascinating though about the role of the 50 Shades of Grey. It's a series, right? Or book? Isn't it multiple books? Yeah. So like the series, whatever. But I'll say it reminded me of, was it last episode maybe or 2 episodes ago when Freeman had mentioned like the nexus of the midlife crisis was some book from the 70s. Like it's just wild to me that books, I guess, really can have like a lasting long-term impact. And it's kind of funny like which ones do and don't. But to me, that was kind of the most fascinating part of the survey there. I don't have a whole lot to contribute on the other pieces.
Yeah, I mean, it is clear that these works of fiction, to your point, I'm not sure I will call it literature, but these works of fiction do clearly impact societal norms and standards. I remember when the first book came out, everybody was talking about it.
It was a
Um,
phenomenon. I remember that when it happened.
yeah, it
Yeah.
was a very big phenomenon. I never read it, and I didn't bother to watch the movies because I didn't really give a shit. Um, but I do think clearly it was a um, a gateway for people to open up, um, you know, different sides of themselves, whatever you may call it,
Yeah.
different expressions. And so, I'm going to sound like a broken record about this because as long as there's open communication about what they're looking for, about what they want to do, then fine. I celebrate that. It's super fucking kinky, and I love that for you people. Go for it. If you need whips and chains and harnesses, go for it. I love that for you. Um, but what really also fascinated me, there were so many fucking studies about this. I feel like we need our own a show just about BDSM, just to talk about
Don't
this.
think we do.
You were going to be as red as a tomato the entire time, but I absolutely feel that way. I'm like, good God. Because this is, yet again, this was everywhere.
Wow. Huh.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I would not have guessed that. But I guess that goes back to the original point, right? Is there might be lots of research on this stuff, but people don't really talk about it. Even put the BDSM stuff aside, that might be harder to work into just like general conversation. But just like sex in general, I do. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe you can just drop it in there. Maybe someone will pick up on it. But I do think like we're doing now, it's worth at least talking about this and being able to kind of laugh about it. And I don't know, hopefully maybe more people will try to do that with some of their friend groups to try to destigmatize some of this stuff.
Clearly, you need to get out of your neighborhood.
I
People are wearing
guess.
their harnesses around the streets all
Where are
the
you
time.
living?
For God's sakes.
You're going to a dinner party. We're just here. Mike's like, has anyone had a good flog lately? Or is that even a flogging? I don't know. Whatever.
It's all kinds of things happening out there, Andrew.
We're taping this right before Thanksgiving and Christmas and all. This could be good, good family conversation for the dinner table or cocktail parties. We could.
It is. It is. And we're going to sit there and meet up with a whole group of our friends from
We
college.
are.
Maybe we should
Yeah.
bring this up
I mean,
then. We sit there
Actually,
and
be
say,
funny to kind of have a little game of see how people react to it because I can already imagine how some people would react and how others would. It would actually be kind of funny.
I think they would all love it. But, it just, taking a step back, I think if BDSM is just another example of, people's animalistic behavior. So if they need to get off to floggings or, restraints or dominant and submissive role playing, go for it. As long as there is mutual consent,
Oh, yeah.
mutual consent being a key word there, I think that's fine. I love that for them. Yet again, it's great. It's fantastic.
There you go. Well, I'd be curious what who's made it this far in the episode still thinks or wants to share their thoughts on not just BDSM but in general. I'd be curious people like how they try to talk about sex or if they're pro monogamy or not. That could be kind of interesting to see where people land.
That would be interesting. Make sure you leave your thoughts.
Yes,
But, tell us, how do you and your partner communicate about
that's a
your
good one.
sexual
Yeah.
health, your sexual well-being? Do you have any tips or advice? Leave your comments. Send us a message on Facebook or Instagram. I feel like we need, some sort of an anonymous channel too, so in case people don't want to show off their profile.
That's true. I don't know what that would be, but yeah.
WhatsApp. But guys, leave us your thoughts.
Yes.
But thank you for joining us. Tell your friends to subscribe. Leave your comments and feedback below. And until next time, good luck, guys.
See ya.